Imagine locking every single door to your digital life with a different, incredibly complex padlock. You have hundreds of these locks, guarding your bank accounts, your private emails, your medical records, and your corporate networks. Because human memory is frail, you cannot possibly remember all these intricate combinations. So, you do the most logical thing. You forge one master key, place all the other keys inside a massive, heavily fortified steel vault, and you guard that single master key with your life. For millions of people and thousands of businesses around the world, that steel vault was LastPass. It was the pioneer of the password management industry, a company built on a singular, fundamental promise of absolute security. We trusted them to hold the keys to our entire existence. But in late 2022, the unthinkable happened. The vault was not just cracked, the entire blueprint, along with the locked boxes inside, was quietly carried out the back door. The story of the LastPass breach is not just a tale of sophisticated hackers, it is a terrifying masterclass in how a chain of seemingly isolated vulnerabilities can lead to the ultimate digital catastrophe. To grasp the magnitude of this disaster, we first need to understand the architecture of trust that LastPass built its empire upon. They utilized a concept known as zero-knowledge security. This is a brilliant cryptographic principle which dictates that while LastPass stores your vault on their cloud servers, they have absolutely no way to open it. The data is encrypted locally on your device using your master password before it ever travels over the internet. Because LastPass never stores your master password, they could be subpoenaed by a government, or their servers could be raided by criminals, and theoretically, your data would remain entirely unreadable. This zero-knowledge architecture was the ultimate safety net. It was the reason security experts universally recommended password managers. But what the public did not fully realize, and what the hackers so ruthlessly exploited, is that a zero-knowledge architecture only protects the data inside the vault. It does not protect the infrastructure surrounding it, and it certainly does not protect the people maintaining that infrastructure. The unraveling of LastPass did not happen overnight. It was a methodical, multi-stage campaign that played out over several months. The first domino fell in August of 2022. LastPass released a public statement acknowledging that a threat actor had breached their development environment. According to the company, the attackers had gained access through a compromised developer account and had stolen portions of the source code and proprietary technical information. At the time, the message from the company was designed to reassure the public. Yes, there was a breach, but the production servers were untouched, customer data was safe, and the encrypted password vaults were never accessed. The crisis seemed to have been averted. The cybersecurity community breathed a collective sigh of relief, assuming the hackers had merely stolen the blueprints to the bank but hadn't actually reached the vault. But the hackers were not done. They were simply studying the blueprints. They took the proprietary source code and technical documentation they stole in August and began to map out the deepest, most secure layers of the LastPass infrastructure. They were looking for the digital keys to the kingdom, the shared folders holding the decryption keys for the corporate backup servers. To get those keys, they realized they could not attack the LastPass servers directly. Instead, they had to target one of the few human beings on the planet who had the clearance to access them. They narrowed their sights on a senior DevOps engineer. What followed is a chilling indictment of the modern remote work era. The attackers didn't try to breach the engineer's highly secured corporate workstation. Instead, they targeted his home. They discovered that the engineer was running a Plex media server on his personal home network. They found a known, unpatched vulnerability in that third-party media software and used it to breach his home computer. Once inside his personal machine, they installed a keylogger, a malicious piece of software that silently records every single keystroke made on the keyboard. Then, they waited. They waited for the engineer to log into his corporate LastPass environment. When he typed his master password, the keylogger captured it. In that terrifying instant, the hackers bypassed millions of dollars of corporate firewalls, biometric scanners, and intrusion detection systems, all because of an outdated movie server in an employee's living room. With the senior engineer's credentials in hand, the attackers moved with devastating precision. They entered the LastPass cloud storage environment. This was the Holy Grail. They didn't just take a few files, they systematically copied massive amounts of customer data. They downloaded basic customer account information, billing details, email addresses, and phone numbers. But the catastrophic blow was yet to come. The attackers located and downloaded the backup copies of the customer password vaults themselves. Millions of digital lockboxes, containing the deepest secrets of users across the globe, were suddenly in the hands of unknown cybercriminals. When LastPass finally disclosed the full extent of this second, fatal breach in December 2022, the panic was immediate and absolute. The zero-knowledge promise was suddenly put to the ultimate, terrifying test. LastPass reiterated that the vaults were heavily encrypted. They stated that as long as customers had followed best practices and used a long, complex, unique master password, the stolen vaults were mathematically impossible to crack. While technically true, this statement masked a horrifying reality. When a hacker steals an encrypted vault, the attack moves from the online world to the offline world. If you try to guess a password on a website, you are usually locked out after 3 or 5 attempts. But the attackers now had the physical, encrypted files on their own powerful servers. There was no LastPass system to lock them out. They could unleash massive arrays of high-performance graphics processing units, GPUs, to hurl billions of password guesses at the stolen vaults every single second. This is known as offline brute forcing. If a user had a weak master password, a common word, a pet's name, or a combination they had reused elsewhere, their vault wouldn't take millions of years to crack. It would take days, hours, or even minutes.